Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Monday, November 14th. I'm your host, John June. Scott on my left. That would be my co-hostess with the mostest. He's not a hostess, he's a host, but got my guy Greg Penniman, aka G Money. Greg, how you doing on this Monday over here?
Good, man. Week 10, one of the best weeks probably of the season. With these games. Looking forward to Monday night tonight. It was a very very monumental week for sure. A lot of crazy games, especially that Buffalo Minnesota game. That was insane.
Probably the craziest game of 2022. Probably the craziest game since the divisional round playoff game between the Chiefs and the Bills, last year. Just fantastic football all around. Just a good weekend for your team to not be playing. Like my New York Jets, we're not playing. They were on bye, just watching other teams beat up on each other.
And you gained a game too. There you go.
Yeah, gained a game. Just now Miami gets to sit at home while all the other teams beat up on each other, and hopefully, we'll talk about the divisional game between the Jets and the Patriots later this week. But we're here to talk about some performances from Week 10. Those Swags and those Jags, those guys that helped you win a week, or those guys that were just the guys and probably didn't help you win your week at all. In fact, they probably caused you to lose your week. We're gonna talk about all of it. Gonna obviously go position by position, but obviously if you're listening, watching, however you're consuming this content, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or you're watching on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Again, just we appreciate it. We appreciate the love. Just make sure you stay subscribed and so you can keep that content flowing. It's week 10. We're going into week 11. You think about it, it's not really that much left in the fantasy regular season. We got 4 weeks in the fantasy regular season. So when it's all said and done, hopefully these next 4 weeks you put yourself in a position where you can make a playoff run. Because again, all you got to do is make the playoffs. Once you get in, anything can happen. Maybe you pick up a player that got hot at the right time, like one of our quarterbacks, Swags, and our number one quarterback on the week thus far. There's still a game to be played, but our number one quarterback on the week would be Justin Fields, my quarterback start of the week. I mean, this one we kind of knew was coming. My man was playing. He was playing Detroit. Like I had this one.
Enter here versus Detroit, man. Enter here.
Yeah, enter here versus Detroit. I had this one. Literally had this one penciled in for weeks. I've said it before, but Lamar Jackson is my quarterback in the league with extraordinary people. And a few weeks ago, I was like, I like to look at my stuff ahead of time. I was like, oh, Justin Fields has a pretty nice schedule. Plays Detroit when Lamar is on bye. Let me scoop him up. I added him 4 weeks ago. Before, I think it was after the New England game. I was like, I'm just going to add him and we'll see what happens. And he's been the number one quarterback since. I actually honestly have a decision to make the rest of the way because Fields is still on 12 of 20, 167 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, added 13 rush attempts for 147 rushing yards, and another 2 rushing touchdowns, 4 total on the day, 39.4 points in standard quarterback scoring. I mean, even this, I don't know if it was I think the first touchdown. Yeah, the first touchdown was the crazy one where my man literally was running, about to get tackled, reverses field, and then trucks in, on 3rd and goal. And then the second one was just classic Fields, 67 yards in the open field. No one's going to catch him. Like, Greg, what'd you think of the performance here by Justin Fields, man?
Yeah, he's definitely on a roll right now. I mean, he's playing at a elite QB1 level, league winning level for sure. The rushing is just continuing to blow up. 170 something last week, 140 something this week. So yeah, man, it's looking real safe for him right now as far as the legs. Even if he doesn't get those monster numbers, if he gets close to 70, 80 yards, that's still a great day. So yeah, this is just showing I think his his cap right now, and I think his floor is just as good.
Yeah, I mean the floor is always going to be there, right? Because the rushing is going to be there, and that's what we talk about with these guys, these dual threat quarterbacks that we look to as being potentially late round options because of the floor that they provide. But what makes Fields so interesting is different than like what Lamar brings, right? Because Lamar, like they don't want to make a living that way. Like they know that they can run Lamar and he can run for 1,000 to 1,200 yards. But at the end of the day, like the Ravens would prefer not to expose Lamar Jackson to those kinds of hits. And it also what happens is the Ravens want to play a certain style of football. They want to slow the game down. They want to run the football. They don't really want to open it up and drop back and pass 50-60% of the time. The Chicago Bears are in a place right now where their defense is so bad that they don't have a choice but to drop back and throw the ball, even 20 attempts in this game. That doesn't sound like a lot, but how many of those attempts turn into Justin Fields deciding he's going to take off and run for 10, 15 yards, right?
Hmm.
We talk about beginning of the year, I talked about wanting to play my defenses against Fields. Why? Because he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the leagues. It's a dual threat. It's a double-edged sword when you are a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields and you're able to create plays because you're going to be more apt to maybe take a sack in a situation where another quarterback of who's not as mobile might throw the football away. So Fields is in right now in a situation where this defense is so bad that he's gonna have to do something like this essentially every week near as we go forward. Your thoughts on that, Greg? With Fields potentially being a league winning option down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure. He's got to be. I mean, no matter what schedule he's going to be in, even like they're going to be behind. And again, we talked about the floor, and he's getting better as far as his development. I mean, he's year two, so like he's going to continue to get better as a player too. So it's just going to help.
Absolutely. Um, the quarterback two on the week, man. It's Patrick Mahomes. He is on one right now. If we're being honest, I mean, 26 to 35, 331 passing yards, four touchdowns, one interception. Another place where he's been stepping up, 39 rushing yards on seven attempts, 31.1 fantasy points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Patty?
It's Patty. This is what he does every week. I expect this from him every week for sure. I mean, he's the best player I've ever seen in my life. He just does it all. They just added, more, give him more weapons. Kadarius Tony getting the blow up twos now. So, yeah, it's all good for him, and he's gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised when Patrick Mahomes ends up on this list. I thought he would be the number one quarterback on the week. Justin Fields thought differently. But when Patrick Mahomes throws four touchdowns at the beginning of the week, runs for 39 rushing yards, I'm gonna pretty much assume like you told me that at the beginning of the week, yeah, he finishes a QB1. Just kind of shows where Fields has been. Let's go on to the quarterback three on the week, and we got another FFDX start of the week here. Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this is a weekly occurrence now. It seems for Tua, 25 of 32. 285 passing yards, three touchdowns, no interceptions, no rushing yards on his one attempt, 23.4 points in standard quarterback scoring. Performance here by Tua Tagovailoa, your quarterback start of the week.
Yeah, quarterback start of the week, quarterback breakout. I mean, this is something I expect from Tua. Healthy Tua has been money this year. It really has. Yeah, you gotta continue to the receivers around him. He has so many weapons to choose from. Miami has just been again in a lot of high scoring games, go back and forth games. So the game plan has worked for him. And yeah, now he's got even a running game to kind of help him a little bit. So is going to help him even more overall in this offense. So Tua is going to continue to roll.
Yeah, it really. I wasn't a. I want. How do I say this? So like, I didn't think Tua was bad. I just didn't think that he was, this next level prospect, that tank for Tua that people had been,
Thank for
had
two.
always talked about. Um, but everything that I'm seeing is good, right? And like Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill helps for sure. Mike McDaniel helps for sure, but Tua is not doing anything different than what he's always done, right? He's a quarterback that excels at throwing with anticipation. He's gonna get he's gonna get the ball open to the right guy. And when he runs this RPO system, I mean, this goes back to Tua at Alabama, running the RPOs, right? Like he's always gonna make the best decision in that situation, running those RPOs. He does it at a very, with high efficiency, and he does it with a lot of success. So seeing Tua, all of this is very reproducible week to week, and like this is not a fluke. He'll continue to do this, and from a fantasy perspective, you know, I, I mean, all right, let's put it this way, Greg. You've got one choice to make: rest of season, Tua or Justin Fields. You are muted, sir.
I think I'm gonna go with Tua. Uh, just because I think if it, I mean, yeah, it's tough. That's real tough actually, but I'm gonna lean towards Tua, um, just for the fact that I feel like, I mean, the last 2 weeks Justin Fields has gotten it, but the over unders for Miami seems to be a lot higher. I feel like, I mean, I could always see a possible bad game from Fields as far as him getting sacked and everything. And it could be a possible regression to maybe a game or two early in the year, but I see Miami always being a team that's putting up points in good situations. So I'm gonna just lean towards Tua. They're both safe, but I'm gonna lean towards Tua.
Yeah, and I think that's where I lean Fields, because I want that week to week consist, like the rushing floor. Again, what Tua is doing is great. I don't think that's a fluke, but we've seen Tom Brady have bad games in December, right? Like even when he was on a pace like this, not pace like this, but even when he's done this, 285, 3 touchdowns, it's easier to have, not easier to have that bad week, but when you don't have the rushing to lean on, it's a bit easier to have a bad week. So that's why I lean Fields. And I actually did have to make a decision like this in a keeper league where I have Josh Allen as my quarterback keeper, and Fields and Tua were just kind of sitting out there. So I just picked both of them up, and I didn't have room for 3 quarterbacks, so I traded away. I had to trade away somebody, so I traded away Tua, essentially knowing I'd keep Fields, going forward. But it's just an interesting thought, and I'm sure it's one that listeners out there have to make or have had to make, because these are guys. Tua was available in leagues after the injury and things like that, and Justin Fields, he was available after pretty much having a bad start to the year. So definitely an interesting conversation. Um, Rounding out the quarterback swags, the quarterback 4 on the week, Matt Ryan; the quarterback 5, Trevor Lawrence; the quarterback 6, Josh Allen; the quarterback 7, Ryan Tannehill; 8, Aaron Rodgers; 9, tying with 9 would be Geno Smith and Dak Prescott; and the quarterback 11 would be Kenny Pickett; and then the quarterback 12, Daniel Jones. Greg, any of these top 12 performances stick out to you?
Um, I mean, Kenny Pickett is definitely nice to see him in that top 12. See that he's capable of doing it. Maybe this could be nice for his future and everything. That's about it. These other names, Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had a good game, so that's good to see for sure. Always that him being a QB1. Ryan Tannehill, I'm not really. I think that's more of a fluke thing, but and Aaron Rodgers as well. So yeah, I'm not too shocked for anything else.
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers one is interesting because we saw the emergence of a rookie wide receiver in Christian Watson. So we've been talking about how Aaron Rodgers has been missing this offense has been missing a downfield presence, something to really help stretch the field and keep defenses honest. And if Christian Watson fills that void, something we'll talk about him a little bit later. But if he fills that void, then it gives me a little bit more confidence that Aaron Rodgers could actually, turn this around, because that was a good Dallas defense
Hmm.
that he had success against. So, that part is important. And, the Trevor Lawrence thing, Totally agree. Um, the one that's probably interesting, I'm probably the only person on earth. And if you are listening and you did it with me, I need to hear it. Please tell me. Probably the only person on earth that started Matt Ryan this week. The only
Oh,
person.
bank. I mean, was he banking on starting before the game? Like, did you know he was starting
So
before?
I caught wind of it. I was going back this morning actually to check the transactions. It was on Twitter that he was taking snaps with the starting center before the game started.
Mm,
Like, and so it was like, it looks like people were tweeting like, oh, looks like, Matt Ryan might start today. I'm in a 2 quarterback league. Fortunately enough for me, Josh Allen played, but Kyler Murray didn't. And I was prepared to start John Wolford. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I was prepared to start John Wolford, but once I saw Matt Ryan was playing the matchup against Las Vegas, like, to me, that was what I would rather play. Like, Arizona was a fine offense, fine defensive matchup, but Wolford is not nearly the quarterback that Matt Ryan is. And it worked out. It really worked out. So I was glad, that I had made that move because he again finished as a quarterback 4, even had a rushing touchdown and 38 rushing yards. So yeah, I was definitely, felt fortunate for that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he came in at a solid performance. The Indianapolis Colts had a good start. I mean, good job on Jeff Saturday, man. It's crazy.
Any given Saturday, man.
Yeah, and he given Saturday.
Uh, let's talk about some honorable mentions. Derek Carr had a solid day. Marcus Mariota. I mean, he is Derek Carr, right? Like, when you think it's gonna be bad, when you think that you shouldn't start Marcus Mariota, you're done with him. That's when he actually has a respectable performance. But when
Hmm.
you count on him, when you start him, when you're like, I'm gonna make him my stream of the week, like, that's when we end up with crap from him. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, Mariota, even as bad as it looked, when we were talking about the Thursday night quick hits, like, he looked terrible, and he still finishes a quarterback 14. Crazy. And then Jacoby Brissett, my stream of the week, came in as the quarterback 15. It was a solid week for quarterbacks. I mean, we had 5 guys over, just about 21 points. So it was a solid quarterback week. But there were some Jags, and so a guy who shows up on this list like far often more than we would like to. That is Justin Herbert. Greg, we uncovered why in your mind Justin Herbert was fine, because in our league of extraordinary people, where he is your quarterback, he is the player 13, because we have some crazy scoring that probably needs to be reevaluated next year. Um, but Justin Herbert not having a solid day, are you chalking this up to the lack of weapons around him, or was this the San Francisco 49ers defense? Is this just a down year for Herbert? Some of the above, all of the above. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely some of the just in general having the no receivers, kind of not no receivers, but Keenan Allen, you can't dismiss him. He's one of the best receivers in the league. Mike Williams is a great deep league presence. I mean deep down the field presence. You can't absence that as well. So it will take a little while for Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter to get that mojo, or just to fill the void of Keenan Allen. I mean, so it definitely doesn't help for sure. And yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe the Chargers. I'm not sure what their pace is looking at this year, but it doesn't seem like they're one of those like teams that's trying to get a lot of plays and stuff like that. So as far as being very fantasy friendly, um, hasn't been here that this year. And high scoring games, they haven't been in a lot of high scoring games as well, for sure. So um, defense has been better for sure too. So that definitely helps.
Yeah, I mean, they're just unable to keep drives going. They're unable to consistently convert on third downs. So that's going to definitely lead to you running less plays. Russell Wilson also ends up on this list. I mean, the Tennessee defense probably, in hindsight, is better than we might have thought. Like, look what they did to Mahomes for essentially like 3 quarters until Mahomes was able to turn it around. So maybe that's one that we look back on and we'll say that maybe the Tennessee matchup was bad. But I stick with what we've been saying. Like, Russ is purely a streaming option going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean he wasn't. one going to be on my roster. So like, yeah, definitely has to be a Detroit matchup pretty much if I'm starting
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Speaking of Detroit, Jared Goff also not a great performance by him, given the nature of this game, but um, a lot of good a lot of good quarterbacks this week. So Goff just ends up in that QB 20 range, and then Andy Dalton, who if you played him, was terrible. But we kind of talked about if TJ Watt plays, don't play him. So
Yeah,
all right, let's move on to the running backs, man. And the running back swags, the number one running back on the week. My man is back. My running back start of the week, Jonathan Taylor. In his first game playing for head coach Jeff Saturday, he was on the field for 86% of the snaps. That was a season high. He received 22 of the 24 running back touches, 22 carries, 147 rushing yards, one touchdown, two targets in the pass game, which he turned into two receptions for 16 yards. All this was good for 24.3 PPR points. Even had one of his signature 60 plus touchdown runs where you remember that Jonathan Taylor is a freak of a human being when he gets into the open field and you see that a man that big is running away from defenders that fast. Greg, what did you think on the performance here by Jonathan Taylor, my start of the week?
yeah, definitely a great performance from him. I mean, highest carries he's gotten since week 4, so that's like amazing. I mean, injuries and just the volume hasn't been a little bit. Definitely highest yards per carry this week of the season. So definitely, besides week 1, his best game of the season easily. I think he's definitely gotten he doesn't need to see like 2 weeks to kind of see him that he's back. Like he should be in everyone's lineups to begin with. So they're going to continue to start him. Hopefully, he can kind of get on a tear here, though. I mean, he's got Philly next week, so it might be a little tough, but hopefully, I mean, they can kind of get on a tear here.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talked about Philly. You can run on Philly, and we'll see if Antonio Gibson keeps that trend up tonight. But we talked about going into this game, and I talked about with JT being my start of the week. Jeff Saturday, former offensive lineman, right? Like he was gonna come in, run the football, dominate it that way,
Mm-hmm.
and all the issues. I mean, from what metrics out there and things like that, this was the best run blocking performance that the Colts offensive line had, this season. So Jeff Saturday's impact being felt that way. But I thought the interesting part was what he said in his post game message to the team was, we set the goal to run for 200 yards, and we did that. And so when he started that way, I'm like, I wonder if that's the goal every week. Because if it is, fire up Jonathan Taylor, man. Let's go.
I'm sure they go. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, if the volume's going to be high, they're going to depend on giving him the ball. I'm definitely here for it, for sure.
And this is why you go out and you make those trades this time of year to acquire a talent like Jonathan Taylor. Feeling real good right now. So let's move on to the running back 2 on the week. Aaron Jones, 24 carries, 138 rushing yards, one touchdown, two targets in the pass game, which he turned into two catches for 18 yards, 23.6 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts and performance here by Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I expect this from Aaron Jones every week. I mean, he's after Aaron Rodgers, he's the best player I think on the team. He should be getting the ball, getting the volume in the passing game, in the running game every week. They should be relying on him heavy. So it's good to see him getting this performance. As long as he stays healthy, I definitely like Aaron Jones.
Most definitely, Aaron Jones is a baller. Also a baller, Dalvin Cook, who actually tied. We have a three-way tie for the running back 2 this week.
Mm-hmm.
Dalvin Cook comes in as the one of the other guys that ties for this spot. But 14 carries, a buck 19, one touchdown, 3 receptions on 5 targets, 27 receiving yards. Again, 23.6 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Dalvin Cook?
Dalvin Cook's also been on a tear lately. Yeah, after maybe what a slow start, miss a week for Alexander Madison. He's been a dog. When he gets in, yeah, Dalvin Cook is the man. He's always going to continue to ride this offense on a good team. Minnesota is. They're going to continue to run it through him first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, I have Dalvin Cook, and it's been kind of like underwhelming because like he's really been like a top, like consistently top 12, top 15 guy, which is, you drafted him to be a top 5 guy. But this week
Hey, I'll
definitely
take that.
helps.
I'll take that.
I mean, yeah, you're speaking from a different place right
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now.
You'll take that.
But Dalvin Cook, I mean, when you look at his day yesterday, he had an 81-yard touchdown run, right? Like you take that away, that means he really ran for like 30 rushing yards. Obviously it takes a lot of skill and whatnot to score an 81-yard touchdown run. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying that there might be an opportunity here, you know, I don't even know what you could do. Like the Saquon manager is not gonna buy, the Christian McCaffrey manager probably not gonna bite. So I don't know what situation you could get yourself into. Like I would feel really tough. It would be really tough for me to sit here and say like, oh yeah, turn your Dalvin Cook into Jonathan Taylor, because I think that would be simply an overreaction to what just happened. But yeah, I think you got to kind of hold Dalvin Cook right now. But if you have an opportunity, if, the Saquon manager might listen, then potentially you have it out there. But the running also tying for the running back 2 on the week, James Conner, 21 carries, 69 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 carries on 3 reception, or 3 catches on 3 targets for 17 receiving yards, 23.6 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by James Conner?
Yeah, James Conner kind of taking his backfield back. So that's good to see. Maybe we see one guy. It's always good to see a workhorse. So it makes the picture pretty clear. Yeah, and he's gonna continue to roll. Hopefully, he can get back on that touchdown roll that he was getting on last year.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, especially because they cut Benjamin today. So
Tough.
he's no longer on the Arizona Cardinals, which honestly doesn't. I mean, on the surface, it doesn't make sense because he had 0 snaps in the game. He's been performing as your lead running back with James Conner being injured, so it's kind of tough there. Maybe that's pinpointing them, that they're leaning more towards the rookie and Keontae Ingram,
Hmm.
who showed well in limited opportunities. But we know James Conner's injury history. Like I would stash the backup running back, for Arizona, especially if I'm the James Conner manager rest of season.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to there's some honorable mentions. Kenneth Walker, who despite rushing for only 17 rushing yards on 10 attempts, still cracked in the top 16 of PPR running backs thanks to 6 receptions. Austin Eckler, top 15 finish by him. Nick Chubb was obviously solid. I didn't read the rest of these running backs. But Saquon Barkley comes in at 5. Josh Jacobs comes in at 6. Jeff Wilson Jr. comes in at 7. Tony Pollard 8. Deontay Foreman 9. Raheem Mostert 10. Christian McCaffrey 11. And then Devin Singletary coming in at the running back 12. Greg, any of these running back performances stuck out to you?
No, I mean Jeff Wilson. I've always liked him, so that's good that he's kind of taking this backfield. And now Miami has a kind of a strong RB2, some RB1 upside every week. Um, and then yeah, other than that, they bought both actually 2 running backs in the top
I
12.
was
So
about to
that's good
say,
to
yeah,
see.
Mostert
Yeah,
finishes a top 10 back as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So that's good. And then Tony Pollard continuing to show, post Zeke era, this man is a RB1 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. definitely had the volume, and that's where I would bank. I mean, Mostert had a long touchdown run, and it wasn't super long, but still long touchdown run. So Jeff Wilson Jr. I think is where you lean for that weekly production.
Yeah, for sure.
Pollard, yeah, I mean, if you're a dynasty manager of Pollard, like you're looking
Yeah,
at the chops right now because you understand like what's ahead. Like my man's about to hit free agency. competing. I mean, obviously Saquon Barkley is going to end up with getting the biggest contract, but Tony Pollard would not surprise me if he gets the second largest contract of all the running backs that are available. McCaffrey, RB11. I mean, that was weird in and all of itself that Elijah Mitchell's who led the team in running back attempts.
So
So
weird.
he ends up as an honorable mention here. Jaylen Warren, who I talked about earlier in the week, finished as a top 22 play. Rashad White, also, guy we've been talking about stashing for weeks now, finally comes through. If you played him, filling in for your start of the week, Greg, Leonard Fournette, who suffered a hip pointer at the, in the middle of this game here. Any of these honorable mentions that might have stuck out to you in any way whatsoever, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, Leonard Fournette was on his way to a big day, actually. He still finished RB19 in like pretty much half a game. So definitely nice from him. We were talking about Damian Pierce and Kenneth Walker continuing to be great rookie running backs to hold it down for fantasy managers.
Definitely. And then there were some running back Jags on the week. CEH, man, a hot zero. He's probably droppable.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that this clip was like there, and the usage was just never there. He only had one game over 10 carries, so like he was just banking on this touchdown production.
And now he's not even getting touches.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean
I
they
think he
have
saw 2 targets in
Pacheco,
this game.
Jarek McKinnon's there, J.D. McKissick. So yeah, they really are
J.D.
gonna.
McKissick got traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
No, but that's what Jarek McKinnon is. Yeah,
Jarek McKinnon is the
Jarek
J.D.
McKinnon is
McKissick.
the J.D.
Okay,
McKissick.
gotcha.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's tough for him. I think he is droppable though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, just God forbid there's an injury in that backfield, though. I mean, what's Clyde gonna go for on the waiver wire, in
I
terms
mean,
of
like,
that? I
yeah,
mean, if
but
there's
like,
no one left to give the ball to,
yeah, but they never ran the ball like that when he was. They're not a running team like so. His
yeah,
max, if he's the only running back there, his cap is still, I think, RB3 or RB2. Get some maybe weeks here and there, but still seems like RB3 with no one else in the backfield.
Also rounding out the Jags, we got Alvin Kamara, Cordero Patterson, and both Bears running backs. Although Khalil Herbert did exit with an hip injury, so potentially David Montgomery might get a backfield to himself. Well, let's move on to the wide receiver position. And the wide receiver Swags, the number one wide receiver on the week. CeeDee Lamb, 11 catches on 15 targets. Odell, please don't go there. I need to see CeeDee get 15 targets like every week. 150 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, 38 PPR points. I should have made him my start of the week. I should have just done it. Screw Jair Alexander. But Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, freak of nature talent. He's going to continue to get heavily targeted in this offense where, we were saying how they can't really trust any of the secondary receivers right now. So it's CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, and that's who Dak is going to be looking at besides running the ball. So, I mean, he's in a spot to be finish the year, at a top, weekly top 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy how this season has come full circle with me and CD, right? Like, start of the year, he was clearly like a top 5, top 6 guy for me. I thought the targets would be there every week. And then we get the Dak injury week 1. And, you know, we even said it, right? Like, hey, I think you should buy a CD. Like, if there's one player from this offense that I think I want, it's CD Lamb. And he's been the most constant thing in it since the
Mm-hmm.
Dak injury. And now he has his first 100-yard game since the Minnesota game last year, which he had with Cooper Rush, and has a career high 150. So, gotta love CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the only thing that could really stop it at this point is if Odell Beckham signs with the Dallas Cowboys, and we don't see him seeing like a 38% target share every week.
Yeah, for sure, because Dallas is a run first team, so another receiver would hurt him for sure.
Most definitely. The wide receiver 2 on the week. Justin Jefferson, 16 targets, 10 receptions, 193 receiving yards, a touchdown, and probably the best catch that we have seen in the history of football. People will say that the Odell catch was better. Odell
I
catch
don't know,
was
man.
really good. Odell caught it
I
with
don't know,
three
man.
fingers, and it was a touchdown. It was great. But when you consider 4th and 18, you had the defender drape. The defender had two hands on the ball. My
Yep.
man's got one hand on the ball. And then as they're hitting the ground, like it defies all logic how that ball never hits the ground.
Nope.
Never. Like, so yeah, J Jeff, 35.3 fantasy points. We love you. We appreciate you. I take every bad thing I said about you not being this year's Cooper Cup. I take it all back because that was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, man. Money got the Minnesota Vikings one of the biggest, wins. One of the biggest wins in Kirk Cousins, career because of Jay Jeff. Like, thank you, Jay Jeff. So yeah, it was an amazing catch. That I think I agree. I think it was better than the Odell catch slightly. Yeah, amazing performance from him. He should continue to close for this team in Minnesota.
Hey man, Kirk was out there throwing some darts. He was throwing some darts, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Was it fourth and
that
18?
fourth and
That
18,
play, that play wins
that
the game
was
for them. Yeah,
Justin
yeah,
Jefferson. F it, he's
yeah,
down there somewhere,
yeah.
right? Like,
You got to sometimes, you got to.
gots to.
1 p.m.
And
Kirk Cousins is the GOAT, man.
1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. Let's move on to the wide receiver 3, who maybe might be developing a little rapport with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Christian Watson. 4 catches, 8 targets, 107 receiving yards, and 3 touchdown receptions here, Greg. 32.7 PPR points. This is a breakout performance I think everybody's been looking for from Christian Watson. The 34th pick in the NFL draft, high second round pick, the highest receiver taken by the Packers since Devontae Adams. Like, and we seen the upside that he has. We saw the deep passes that he dropped earlier in the year, but this was the coming out party for Christian Watson.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you love to see it for sure. Yeah, man. If he can, keep gaining that momentum. I just remember when, Devontae was a rookie, and we were like, this kid Devontae Adams playing well in the playoffs, and then that's when he just took off. So Christian Watson, big shoes to fill, but the window is there. So there's no one else that is ahead of him. Like, all these other receivers are just on par with him. The lead role for this team is for the taking. So Christian Watson has all the opportunity.
Most definitely, and I'm sure he's a guy that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But I do have to say, because this is buried in my heart and like I hold it. But Devontae Adams, he had the great playoff run, and then the second year was when Jordy Nelson tore his ACL, and then we all
Oh,
were like,
got you.
"Oh, Devontae is going to dog,"
Yeah.
and then he didn't,
Oh,
because I had him on a lot of my fantasy
oh,
teams. Yeah, so it hurt.
year three, year three. There we
Year
go.
three, year three, Devontae. But
Yeah.
Christian Watson, you don't have to wait till year 3.
No, no,
There's
you
no
don't.
rule that
You
says
don't.
you need to wait.
No, no.
So just keep it up
Yeah,
right now, man.
yeah.
But let's round out these wide receiver swags, man. The wide receiver 4 on the week, Christian Kirk. Wide receiver 5, Nick Westbrook Akine. The wide receiver 6, Devontae Adams. 7, Stephon Diggs. 8, Greg's wide receiver start of the week,
Back, baby.
Amon-Ra
Yes, sir.
St. Brown.
Go.
The wide receiver 9, Gabe Davis. The wide receiver 10, Paris Campbell. The wide receiver 11, DeAndre Hopkins. And the wide receiver 12, Chris Godwin. Welcome back to you, sir. Greg, your thoughts on these performances here by these top 12 wide receivers?
Yeah, exciting top 12 for sure. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, always great to see Gabe Davis giving you that, that great boom right for him and his performance. D Hop has just been money for those people that drafted him each week, finishing in the top wide receiver 1. And Chris Godwin, yeah, definitely good to see. Hopefully, this offense could start getting rolling again because Chris Godwin has always been one of the sneaky best receivers in the league. So he's got to get going.
Yeah, Gabe Davis showing up with an actual like regular receiver stat line. It's not like
Yeah,
3 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's, 9 targets, 6 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Like that's a legitimate stat line that you could eat off of every week. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, my man was getting carries in the backfield. Amon-Ra St. Brown was, so definitely love that. And then D Hop, you held him through that 6-game suspension.
Worth
You are
it.
eating right now, eating real good, like I am in the League of Extraordinary People. Let's move on to these honorable mentions. Kadarius Toney,
Yes, sir.
the talent was evident. His first real game with Patrick Mahomes, had a game, but this game we saw Juju Smith-Schuster, my wide receiver, start of the week, get knocked out of the game with a concussion. They also came into the game, no Mecole Hardman, so it became the Kadarius Toney show early and often, and he finished as the wide receiver 13. We also saw Darius Slayton, somebody you recommended as the wide receiver that you would play, and I scoffed because I was like, Wan'Dale Robinson, who ends up as a Jag, but Darius Slayton here ends up as an honorable mention. You said it. You said if you need a wide receiver on Sunday, go pick up Darius Slayton. And he came through if you did, because he finished as the wide receiver 14 in PPR leagues.
Yes, it's the only not quarterback, only wide receiver Daniel Jones has been able to really have a connection with through kind of throughout his career, really. So Darius Slayton's been the one constant for their receivers. There's really been no one else so far. So I mean, I'm gonna continue to treat Darius Slayton as Daniel Jones' favorite. So because he really is.
Christian Watson and Darius Slayton this week on waivers.
Oh, Christian Watson, yeah, it's still the Giants aren't like a throwing team. Rogers really wants this. Like he's finding
He
someone
smells it now.
he
He's like,
smells it.
we're 4-6. Like,
Right.
we can do it.
For sure. I think Christian Watson, the upside is worth it for Watson.
Yeah, definitely. Rondale Moore also came in. A really nice performance here. 13 targets. That was fantastic. DeAndre Carter had a nice day. Nico Collins also had a good day as well. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, I thought he would be on to a better day. Finished with about 12 points in PPR leagues, but had a solid day overall for sure. But the Jags on the week, man, Cooper Kupp left with an injury. Even before the injury, wasn't doing too hot. I think at one point he had like 3 catches for -1 receiving yards, something stupid like that. Darnell Mooney didn't, had his first bad game in a while with this new version of Justin Fields, this unlocked version of Justin Fields. And then Mike Evans also didn't have a great day when we saw guys like Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, all get in the end zone. Any of these, Jag performances, stuck out to you, Greg, in a negative way, or these?
Not too much. I mean, this is probably the first Cooper Kupp Jag of his career. I feel like. I mean,
well, I wouldn't go that far. There was a time where we were like complaining because Cooper Kupp was doing this thing. Since last year,
it's been a while. It's been definitely been a long time. Definitely not worried about him. Obviously, the injury didn't help too. Other than that, though, I did expect a better game from Terrace Marshall Jr. But other than that, it was pretty much nothing surprising except Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I don't know. That one didn't surprise me as much. I did have Ayuk down for having a better day. I thought Deebo Samuel was closer to wide receiver 3-4. That was just what the math bore out in terms of, how he's been utilized in recent weeks. But he also is coming back from the hamstring, so maybe he'll get better. But let's move on to these tight end swags, man. And the tight end one on the week, was he your streamer of the week again?
Back to back. Yeah, man.
Streams of the week. You went from hating the man to loving him.
Yes, sir. Kokomet, man.
The tight end one on the week thus far, but I mean Dallas Goedert is playing, so there's still a chance. But we're gonna give Greg his flowers right now. Your streamer of the week finishes the tight end one, 4 catches, 7 targets, 74 receiving yards, and 2 touchdown receptions, 23.4 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Cole Kmet?
Yeah, man, Cole Kmet, dog, and the schedule was the last 2 weeks were, I guess, the prime 2 weeks for any tight end if you want Miami and then Chicago, I mean Detroit, that's beautiful to have. I mean, in general, we talk about how Justin Fields is getting better. That's going to help the pieces also on the team. So I think Cole Kmet, he shouldn't be stream category next week. I mean, for tight ends, if you need a guy, like, he should be on rosters.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Coleman was a guy that I liked coming into the year. As the year started, we're seeing these one target, zero catch games. It literally made no sense to continue to
Yeah,
roster him.
yeah,
I didn't even. I was like last week when he was playing, I was like, why is Greg making him a start of the week? And then he does what he does, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna question that anymore. So Cole Kmet came out, balled this week, definitely. He's got to be in your starting lineup as we move forward. Kind of like this next guy, but not nearly as good. Travis Kelce, 7 catches, 7 targets, 6 catches, 81 receiving yards, and a touchdown, 20.1 PPR points. Greg, is there anything you want to add to this performance that we all expected?
no, I mean, this is the one constant of our fantasy football podcast of the this podcast, this section, like where we do tight end swags, or Travis Kelsey is in the top three. Like, it's automatic, man.
When did that had to have, like, that wasn't always the case, right? It was like it's been like the last 3 years, right? Like the last 3 years, Travis Kelsey is always here. But there was a time we used to have like Austin Hooper up here.
True, true.
we,
Uh,
we used to
you
have
know,
like Gronk up here
Gronk up
occasionally.
there, Zach Ertz a little bit, back in the
Yeah,
day. Yeah,
back in the
yeah, yeah.
day, that was before Goddard took his job.
Yeah,
But
before Dodgers took us out, yeah.
yeah, the tight end 3 on the week. Somebody we both been saying you gotta buy this
Oh
man.
yeah,
You gotta buy. And
oh yeah.
Greg put out the PSA last week. Hey, this is your last chance to buy him. Hopefully you listened. Dalton Schultz, 6 catches, 8 targets, 54 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown, 17.4 PPR points. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Dalton Schultz?
Dalton Schultz. I mean, yeah, definitely. We've been expecting this from him. A healthy Dalton Schultz, he's now healthy, is going to be a guy utilized on this team for sure. Dak's always been loving throwing to the tight end position. And now Dalton Schultz is going to be one of the main. He's I think, the next best pass catcher after CeeDee Lamb on this offense. And you want him. So hopefully you bought him before this week, because the price is not today's price. Today's price
Yeah,
is
yes.
definitely it's price for sure.
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, Dalton Schultz. I hope you did that. I really hope you did it,
Yeah.
because it was a nice opportunity. But we're done with the tight end swags. We know what you came here for. This is the most important segment of the week. The only reason why you show up during the week, the touchdown or nah tight end of the week. That is the tight end who had the least amount of catches, finished in the top 12, and scored a touchdown. Without that touchdown, there would have been nothing. They would have done nothing for you.
Nothing.
And that week, that award goes to Kansas City Chiefs tight end Noah Gray. He's our touchdown or not tight end of the week. My man had 2 catches on 2 targets for 20 receiving yards and 1 touchdown reception, finished as the tight end 10. So, Noah Gray, this one goes for you. No one started him though, but it doesn't matter. No,
Nah.
Gray. No. Tight end 4
Maybe
on
if
the week.
someone thought that it was Noah Fant and then they accidentally picked him up.
Would have helped you a lot more than Noah Fant did. We'll get to that one in a little bit. But the tight end 4 on the week, that would be Jawan Johnson. Tight end 5, Tyler Higbee. Nice to see you again, Higbee.
Facts.
Tight end 6, Foster Moreau. 7, TJ Hawkinson. My tight end start of the week, 8, Harrison Bryant. 9, Jordan Akins. 10, the aforementioned Noah Gray. And tying for the tight end 11, Dawson Knox and Kylan Granson. Greg, any of these top 12 performances stuck out to you?
Definitely like to see, like, Foster Moreau in there. We always been looking at him as a guy that when Darren Waller is out, he can be a guy that's a great streaming option. Harrison Bryant as well. With David Njoku being out, he was a talented young tight end. So good to see him play well as well. So those two guys for sure. Hopefully they can continue to perform.
Most definitely. And Hawk, had a decent day, finishes tight end 7, but the 10 targets, that's what I like to see that week. 19 targets in 2 games as a Minnesota Viking. That's fantastic and something that I think you can bank on as we move forward.
Absolutely.
Rounding out these, talking about these tight end Jags, Noah Fant, who was my stream of the week, did not come through for us this week. And it was really tough because he had an opportunity to catch a really long touchdown pass. I don't know if I think it was like maybe 20, 30 yards. But he just couldn't get his second foot down. It was really frustrating to see a man not realize where he was on the football field and just drop that second foot. But anyway, that's probably the last time we go to that well. For now, we'll see. Pat Fryermuth didn't have a great day. Not for by his standards or what you would expect from a tight end that you're starting. Cade Otton, somebody that we've been high on, saw his lowest, 29% of the routes he participated in this week after being, participant at a much higher clip. That coincided with the return of Cam Brate. So definitely, put a damper on his outlook there. I feel like I'm missing. Oh, Zach Ertz suffered the injury, so it's unfortunate, but he'll be out for the rest of the year with a knee injury. So couldn't get much from him in terms of fantasy production. Is there anybody else that I might have missed, Greg?
No, I think you're good. Jags for tight ends is always slim pickings. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not slim pickings. The honorable mentions is where there's slim pickings. There's we literally don't do an honorable mention at tight end because
Well, Jags have to come with expectations. So like tight ends,
yes. There's
yeah.
not many tight ends out there with
Right.
expectations.
Yeah,
Got you.
yeah.
Picking up what you're putting down, brother. Anyway, let's discuss these news and injuries. We talked about Benjamin getting released, but in terms of injury news, LA wide receiver Cooper Kupp, he injured his ankle, may have to miss some time. According to head coach Sean McVay, didn't look good and it didn't sound good. So definitely not great news there. Tampa Bay running back Leonard Fournette, not expected to miss any games after leaving Sunday's game with a hip injury. Rashad White, again, needs to be rostered. If he was made available, you got to pick him up off waivers. Jerry Jeudy, Denver wide receiver, left Sunday's game with an ankle injury, expected to potentially miss some time, but is supposed to be a strain, a muscle strain, they're saying, and so it's not something significant where he'll miss the rest of the season. Carolina quarterback PJ Walker, he will miss this week's game after suffering a high ankle sprain in Thursday night football. So Baker Mayfield will start against Baltimore on Sunday, and Sam Darnold will be his backup. And then for Arizona, we just touched on this, but Zach Ertz left Sunday's game with a knee injury, and it was just confirmed earlier that he will be out for the remainder of the season. So, Greg, let's go into the waivers and let's talk about the quarterback position. Who are we picking up off waivers this week?
For quarterback, man, I really looked hard, man. I was really looking real hard. It's a lot of performances that people had this week, and Matt Ryan, he had a good performance, but he has a bad schedule next week. You don't really want to trust that. Any of the backup quarterbacks that played, they really weren't played really well. Colt McCoy, I think they have Buffalo next week. So yeah, it's tough for a lot of these quarterbacks. I really can't see unless hopefully got a Justin Fields. Too late for that. Honestly, I don't have anyone here for quarterback. It's real tough at this point. Maybe because either all these guys are rostered and over 50%, and it's not not a lot of options at this point for a quarterback this week.
Yeah, I mean, who do the Giants play?
They play Detroit, but Daniel Jones is over 50 for sure.
Is he over 50?
Yeah, for sure. Daniel Jones is definitely over 50.
All right, well, definitely.
It's tough.
Yes, if it's a tough week, just make sure you come back on Wednesday when we give out those streams of the week, because haven't taken a look at all the matchups yet myself personally, but I think just off the rip, I would look for somebody who's mobile, like a Daniel Jones. Obviously, it starts with Justin Fields, but there's no way he's available.
Daniel Jones at 64%.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean,
Aaron
Deshaun, I
Rodgers.
mean, it's getting to week 11, week
Well,
13. You're saying
week
Deshaun Watson's
13,
week
Deshaun
13.
Watson. Yeah,
So
he
if
came
you're
up week
looking
week
ahead, if
13.
you're looking real ahead, I mean, that could be the ad to make now, sooner than later. I think, honestly.
Sooner rather than later, if you're on,
Yeah.
if you're gonna go with Deshaun Watson, definitely can't help you this week. But who does Green Bay play? Oh, they play Tennessee. Would you play Aaron Rodgers against the Tennessee Titans on Thursday night?
Yeah, I would. I think so. For some reason though, no one dropped Aaron Rodgers during this whole period, but it's because he's at 79%. So, uh, yeah,
The name.
it's the name. Yeah, he's back-to-back MVP. People were just holding on to him while letting Justin Fields just sit on the waiver wire for so long, and Geno Smith and people like that.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
See, next
yeah.
year we're gonna use this as the example, right? Like, imagine you were holding on to player X, like you were holding on to Aaron
Tom
Rodgers,
Brady, or
not
yeah,
Tom Brady, and
yeah,
not picking up Justin Fields.
crazy,
Crazy.
crazy.
Um, Greg, what about running back, man? Is it? Yeah, we
We
got
got some
some.
running backs in there. Yeah, we got
Okay,
some. Well,
what's up? Talk to
Rashad
me.
White. Rashad White won. He's at 45% rostered. We know we're going to continue to bring up his name. Leonard Fournette. He got banged up this week. He possibly could be back next week, but just having that security
They
net.
are on. They are on bye this week, so he
They're on
can't help
bias.
you
Yeah,
this week.
yeah.
But definitely a guy that I would add and hold through the bye.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Jerick McKinnon, 16% roster. I talked about him being, kind of the JD McKissick of this offense. He got another five carries, five, not five targets, five receptions this week. So he's going to continue to be used in the pass game at a nice, healthy capacity. So he could give you that RB3 floor. And actually, he got targeted 8 times this week, 6 receptions for 56 yards. So definitely someone that you're looking at as far as a safe floor RB3 with some RB2 upside in weeks. Jalen Warren, a guy you brought up before last week, especially with Najee Harris not being Najee Harris this year. Jalen Warren should continue to kind of be involved. He'll get his chance and in an offense that is not been very promising this year, but they're going to try some things out. So Jalen Warren could give you some depth. And then Kyron Williams, he finally played, He came
He
through.
exists. He's a
He
real person.
exists. He did exist. 41% rostered. That's kind of high for people that held on for him all year like me.
Kind of high
So
for a fake player we didn't even know existed
yeah,
until Sunday.
yeah. But he was used limited capacity, and that just helps for first week, obviously, you're not going to get too much work, but the next week it should increase. And Darrell Henderson hasn't really been, promising this year. The Rams is an offense, so I'm sure they're going to want to try some things and try out their rookie.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about at wide receiver?
Yeah, wide
And
receivers.
sorry, before you say that,
Yeah.
just want to say James Robinson was not great before the
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo game. He had like consecutive games of like single digits. He was on bye. He could be out there. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be willing to get that for sure. He's at 75%, but if you can get that
Okay,
over
so
like
he's
80 to
rostered.
90, that should be good. Yeah.
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 Well, what about at wide receiver, Greg? Sorry.
Deep list for wide receiver. I mean, that's always is. You can find those guys Sunday morning, but to start it off early, obviously Christian Watson, 9% rostered. He's your number one guy. Being attached to Aaron Rodgers, one, being in an offense where the opportunity is for the taking for him, a receiver like him, rookie, talented, got the draft capital. So Christian Watson, I think, has the highest upside of all these wide receivers. Darius Slayton, he's at 6%. A guy we talked about. Do like Christian Watson more, but in an offense, I'm sure they want to throw the ball and they want to find a receiver. It looks like he's going to be Daniel Jones's main staple for the rest of the season. Giants, on their way to possibly going 8-2 next week, so they're gonna keep rolling through Saquon, and when they throw the ball, Darius Slayton. And then there's the second tier kind of those guys where you know it can pop up here every week in the top 12, top wide receiver two. And Paris Campbell, 18% rostered. I think that wide receiver two spot has been talked about all year. Who was going to take it, Alec Pierce or Paris Campbell? Paris Campbell got a high number of targets this week. He's been in a couple of games this year where he's got a high target share. So I think if Matt Ryan's going to go and we see this usage, I think it's worth the shot for Paris Campbell to get some wide receiver 3 weeks. KJ Osborne, he's at 4%. We could be, I could see a theory of me swinging the guard where KJ Osborne kind of fills that role as the number 2 guy over Adam Thielen. So down the stretch. So I mean, I would keep an eye on his usage and everything like that. And then Thomas Peoples Jones at 35%, Nico Collins at 13%, and then Zay Jones. Zay Jones at 22%. These are guys, we've been talking about all year. I think Nico Collins and Zay Jones I like a little more than Thomas Peoples Jones because, Brandon Cooks doesn't want to play anymore. He doesn't want to be on the team pretty much anymore. So Houston's got to throw to someone. And then Zay Jones, he's just been attached to Trevor Lawrence all year. He's been a guy that's been popping up in the top 30 a lot of weeks this year. So definitely can give you some top 30 weeks down the line.
So DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, is super interesting to me he's been productive. He's been really good.
Yeah.
But he also gets a quarterback upgrade in 2 weeks.
That is true. That's a great point, though. Yeah. So that is true. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is true. It's you're kind of like, he gets better without you even having to. It's the same player.
Yeah.
So I do like all of those options. Nico Collins is somebody I've been high on, and I think he could even, like you said, similar to what you've been saying, like I think he could eventually overtake Brandon Cooks for that number 1 role.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Watson, to me, though, I just want to clarify, like everything you said is true. And I'm 100% on board with what you said, because if he had this game in week 2, you wouldn't be able to get him because he'd already be on rosters.
Yeah.
Right? Because he would have been a guy like, high draft capital.
Yeah.
Packers need a wide receiver. Like we wouldn't even be talking about him. We'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, if he's available in your league, go get him. But it's going to be a long shot potentially. But like we're here in week 10, right? We're entering week 11. Like a player like that being available at this time, that is what helps take your team over the top.
Right.
Right. Of a guy like Christian Watson, if he does hit. So just want to keep that in mind. Like he's a guy I'm going full force after in leagues, just because I think he's gonna, the probability says that a player like him in a team that needs targets are earned. They're based on talent, skill. He's a second round pick, high draft capital. Like everything is, the cards are all in Christian Watson's favor, that if he stays healthy, that he can finish, as a top 24, top 36 wide receiver rest of season, right? Like weekly, I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on Christian Watson for sure. We get to see it right away Thursday night.
Yeah, we'll see it right away. You'll see that whether you have buyer's remorse or whether you felt really good about your investment.
Word.
Greg, what are we doing at tight end before we close this one out?
I got 2 names. One being Foster Moreau. He's at 17%. Got 4 targets this week, but he did score a touchdown. First touchdown of the year, so maybe he's on par, starting to get a little role here. Another week where he's just the main starter. I think if Vegas is going to play well, Foster Moreau's got to be a part of that. I think they're just not going to take the tight end out of the game plan just because Darren Waller's not there. So, and then lastly, got the news today. Zach Ertz is out. Trey McBride season should be here. Hopefully, 0%. He's out there everywhere. This could be a deep sleeper. I think at tight end position. So definitely keep an eye on him. I mean, he's not highly drafted. He has draft capital though. He was a prospect out of college. So I think Trey McBride's season could be here.
Yeah, Trey McBride was my favorite tight end prospect coming out of this class. I think he was the NFL's top prospect. I think he was the number 1 tight end drafted. Does have second round draft capital invested in him. Tight end is a position that we usually think takes a little while before you can get going, but this is a team, right? There's opportunities. The team utilizes the tight end. We saw him getting involved as soon as Zach Ertz got injured.
Yep.
So I think, again, he's another guy this stage in the game, right? If you lost Zach Ertz, you might not be able to replace him. Maybe you are able to replace him with a guy like Trey McBride. Hey, look, I'm old enough to remember that the tight end the tight end, insurance policy is actually a thing. I don't know. I remember Dallas Clark got hurt. I needed a tight end, and some guy named Jacob Tammy took over as the starting tight end for the Colts, and it helped take my team over the top because all of a sudden now I had, a tight end to help win. But no need to talk about my prehistoric fantasy teams.
Yeah, I mean,
Greg,
hopefully Zach Ertz doesn't get kind of not Wally pipped again, but Dallas Goedert. Anytime Zach Ertz was out, Dallas Goedert did come out and have a great game, and they were like, "Oh, maybe we got a guy here in the future." So we'll see.
Yeah, man, and Trey McBride. I mean, they drafted him. They drafted him probably for that reason. So we'll see. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. We appreciate y'all for tapping in and vibing with us on this Monday evening. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Hot take. Maybe the Eagles aren't undefeated when this night is over. Maybe. It was a weird week. Did you see the week that we just saw?
It was a weird week.
It was a weird week.
You're
Crazy
right.
stuff just happened.
Man.
Crazy stuff. And that wasn't my pick when we made the picks, but I'm just saying after observing the week that we observed, I was like, yo, the Eagles might lose because I don't know anything about football right now. It's crazy. But we'll talk about that one on Wednesday when we break down Thursday Night Football and we give out our streams of the week. So make sure you are here, locked in, tapped in. It'll be Wednesday night, sometime between 6, probably no later than 8, but we'll only one way to find out. Until next time, y'all, we'll catch y'all later. Have a good one. We're out of here. Peace.
We out.